3 years later, I lost my son, Cole. Through these experiences of immense tragedy and grief, I had to find my own way to move through and beyond, which led me to my mission of helping others decipher, clarify, and live out their true life vision purpose. My goal with this podcast is to give you hope and to let my guest journeys inspire you to make the choice to keep looking up. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Moving Through and Beyond podcast. I'm Carey Conley, your host, and I am so very honored and excited to bring to you all today one of my very closest and dearest friends in this world, my friend Angel Tuccy. Such an accomplished woman. We've been through so much together. So grateful for her to be by my side through all of my adversity. And I asked her to come in and just kind of share a little bit about herself and some of the things she's been through. So Angel, thank you, my friend.
Oh my gosh, Carey, absolutely. I'm super excited to have the tables turned for us.
Yes. Yeah. Angel is known as the media mastery expert, you all. What she does, she had a radio show, 2 of them actually in Denver, Colorado for 10 years, and now teaches other people how to get massive media exposure. So usually she's the one running the show and I'm the guest. So this is super fun.
It is super fun. It is super fun. I get to be on Carey Conley's podcast, and I am so excited and so honored. Of course, you are also one of my dearest friends, and we have been through a lot together. But I'm excited to see that adversity is now turning around and how it's helping and making an impact on so many people's lives, Carey.
Yeah. Well, I have you to thank for a lot of that, Angel, because you've been guiding me through this transition. We met shortly after I decided to become a speaker and a coach. And you were a big part of me getting on stages and still are. So I appreciate you. And yes, for those of you who know my story, I've lost, obviously you all know, both my husband and my son to suicide. Angel has been by my side through all of that. I call her one of my first responders. So she's truly a remarkable woman. So I thank you, Angel, for coming on here. And there's a couple of stories I know about you because we've known each other for so long. And the purpose of this podcast is for people like you to share, because it's so good, when people get on Instagram and they see the highlight reel, like they see you doing like all the things and, life is good and you're traveling all over the world with Jay and, helping all these people, but people don't know the backstory, right? And I think it's just really important for people, especially right now who are struggling through their own things, to hear the backstories and know that they're not alone, right?
Absolutely. So such an important role that you're playing, because it is true. We see everybody's highlight reel, right? What everybody is posting on social media, and when we're seeing the good. And even when we see a little bit of the struggle, mostly what we're seeing is their highlight reel. Look at the food I'm eating. Look at the places we're traveling. Look at the outfits I'm wearing. And they don't know that just 5 minutes before, right? It's like when you took family pictures. We got this great family picture, but just 5 minutes before, the baby was crying. We were arguing with each other, before we walked into church, right? We were fighting with each other in the car. But when we walk in, we're all smiles. And that's so often that's all if the world only sees the smiles, when they go through struggles themselves, they think, oh, Carey doesn't ever, Angel doesn't ever. Mm-hmm. Why can't I be more like them? And so right. I think this is a really valuable space to share that story. And what an important story it is to share.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also important because I think so many times people feel like they're alone and they can't share it, whatever they're going through with other people, because they feel like they're the only one. So this is why I'm doing this, is I want people to hear all these different stories, right? And so there's 2 stories I know about you. And so I want to talk about your career first, because when I met you, kind of funny story we don't have time for today, but you were at the top of your career with the radio shows and everything was just sailing along. And I was a big part of that. And then you kind of had the rug pulled out from underneath you. So I want you to kind of share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was in broadcasting for over 10 years, Denver, Colorado. Like Carey said, I was hosting 2 daily radio talk shows at the end of my broadcasting career. And being in broadcasting is a lot of fun. You get to interview celebrities. You get invited to all the, most fun parties in town. You're in the know, hanging out with fun people, private events, charity events. And it feels very glamorous, and it feels like you are at the height of your career. And we bootstrapped our way to get to that space. And we were having so much fun, and hosting two radio shows every single day opened up a lot of doors and opened up and created a lot of opportunities for me. But it was a Wednesday, a beautiful Wednesday in the middle of March, about 4 years ago, 2018, 2017, 2018, one of those years. They blend right after a while. And I walked into my studio all prepped and ready to host 2 back-to-back 2-hour shows. And we had a client who had flown in from Miami to Denver and was setting up his Facebook Live, right? He was going to live stream it because he was live on the air. And it was a big deal to be inside of a broadcast studio and to be able to share your message. So he was super excited. He had been going live and doing these little feeds. We had produced, our producer already for 2 back-to-back shows. And 5 minutes before we were scheduled to go on the air, our producer called me and my co-host into his office and said these words that changed everything for us instantly. And that statement was, "We've made a change. We've made a change." No explanation, no description, no other answer as to why now, what do we do? Handed me a cardboard box that I was able to pack up all of my belongings, including this disco ball that is behind me. We would put the disco ball up in the studio every Friday. And we were escorted out of the building, taken off the air instantly, both shows, both broadcasts. And of course, in that instant, when I would love to have melted like a puddle, right? My phone's blowing up. Where are you? We're trying to listen. Text messages, phones ringing, social media messages. We're trying to find you. Can't find you on the radio. Where are you? What happened? Well, I have a client who had flown in, a guest who had flown in from Miami who was expecting to be on the air. And so we had a decision to make. I took him back to our office and we did 6 mini back-to-back interviews for him because he had flown in from Miami and was expecting. So we streamed him to YouTube. We streamed him live on Facebook. And for the next 2 hours with my phone blowing up and all the messages trying to come in and our door knocking on the office and my assistant keeping that at bay, put a smile on my face and continued to broadcast for the next 2 hours so that we could deliver on our promise to him. But at the inside, in fact, I just came across that video, Carey, not that long ago, a couple of them. And I watched it and I thought, you cannot tell the turmoil that I was feeling as we were broadcasting those episodes for him. It wasn't until I got home, right, that I could melt down, but I held it together. I held it together.
Yeah. Well, of course you did, my friend, because you're a professional and this is what you do. This is emotional intelligence at its highest, Angel, right? And I remember that day. I remember you calling me at the end of the day going, "You are not going to believe what happened today." And I said to you, "Guess what? God just did you a favor."
You were one of the few, Carey, that had a little bit more inside information of the environment that I had been in. I mean, really at the time, this was about 15 months in the making, really where I had realized I was no longer in the right environment. There was something more that I was meant to do. And as you look back, right, as we look back on when God plants these seeds and creates these moments, had I not made the change to move stations, because I thought it was going to be a better situation for me, if I would have stayed where I was, then when the opportunity to leave and branch out on my own, I probably wouldn't have taken it. The environment had to be so disruptive. And so when this did happen, and while I was happy, like when one door closes, another opens, and I knew this was a good move for me, it was very public. And so it was embarrassing to have to admit this and keep having to repeat this story over and over again with people who would reach out to me or see me in person. "Oh, I wish you were still on the air." You know, the head nod, the head tilt. "Oh, I wish you were still. I miss you on the radio. I miss." And for me to say, no, this was good, right? This was a really smart move. This is a really good move, a really brave move for me because everybody was telling me I had to stay in broadcasting at the time. And so I was really swimming upstream, right? I was swimming against the grain of all the people who were telling me what they thought I should do, what I needed to do, what they thought was best for me. But you knew, Carey, this really was this grand opportunity for me to branch out and to break free of some of the shackles I had been in.
Right. Well, the thing about you and I, Laurel, Angel, that you and I have in common is we are loyal to a fault, right? And God knows that. And when we won't move because we feel like you had such loyalty to your fans and your listeners, Angel, that it had to go down this way, sister. So but here's something I want to make a point about, Angel, that's super important. And I did not know that you had this feeling until this year, really. That you felt shamed by that you had done something wrong, and that you were embarrassed. And I never knew that you thought that, because in my mind, that was never a part of the equation. It had nothing to do with you. But I think, don't we do that when things that are outside of our control, we go inward when we start beating ourselves up, right?
Absolutely. I guess I thought it was normal, right? Like, of course I'm embarrassed, and of course, but that is some of that internal dialogue that we pile something that doesn't even have to be there onto ourselves. And I'm not exempt from that, right? I have the same self-talk and challenges and inner dialogue. In fact, just last week, I had to have this self-conversation with myself. I was invited to be a part of this 21-day miracle mindset. And I was looking at my calendar trying to think, when can I fit that in? Like, when should I start that? And I've got this travel and I don't want it to be. And then I'm having this argument with myself, like, today, Angel, right now, today, you're going to change and have a miracle. How about right now? Let's not schedule that for later. Right. But, I think we do have these conversations with ourselves, and we do tend to pile on stuff that doesn't really exist anywhere else except for in our own minds, which is why having people around us that we can share to be our most vulnerable, to take the superhero mask off, to take the cape off, and not feel like we have to really show up and be somebody, but just like, this is me, raw, real, authentic.
Right.
And I think that's the conversation that you have been advocating for so long, Carey, that hopefully this podcast creates more authentic conversations like that.
Right. Yeah. I just think it's super important that people hear how we were feeling about ourselves when we go through whatever we're going through, because I think the biggest part of the adversity is how we're dealing with it and how we're talking to ourselves. Right. Obviously, I've had that, losing both my husband and my son to suicide, lots of inner dialogue around that. But the sharing part, I think, is super important, because we tend to think, okay, we're the only ones, again, dealing with this. I can't share this with anybody else. But when I found out how you really felt about that, I was just like, what? How could you possibly think that? But we do.
Yeah.
We're our own worst enemy, don't you think, when we're going through something really tough?
Especially when we're going through something really tough. And I'm sure there's some, lizard brain, right? Like, trying to protect us, your ego and all of that, trying to protect us from making mistakes, from getting hurt. And so we recoil, we play smaller, which does not protect us at all. I mean, if I could have shared that with everybody, I could have healed so much faster, and I wouldn't have had to wallow in it, or even carry it for as long as I did. I didn't carry it for a long time, but you know what? I actually probably did. I did, in certain circles, carry that for a very long time. I didn't feel safe sharing that.
Yeah. Well, you were very brave when I finally found out how you publicly said that in front of all those people at an event earlier. I think it was earlier this year. It makes me cry when I even think about it. But, and I think the other important thing here is that it's a perspective thing that I hope people get to, is when something like this happens, totally unexpected, that there is a reason for it and that there's something better coming. And so many times I think we want to hold on to the thing that happened for too long. Right.
But there is something better coming. And and if we look back at all the adversity and all the trials that we've been through, we can see the pattern of something better. It opened up the door. I learned something, refined by fire, right? Trial by fire. And now I'm stronger because I've been through that. Now I'm stronger because I've been through that. I now have more empathy because I've been through that. And we can see there's a pattern. So I don't know why, when something bad happens to us, that we don't think that pattern's going to repeat. But, a lot of self-development, a lot of personal development work has to happen here.
Yeah. Well, and it's just experience, life experience. I'm at an age now where I don't expect everything to be perfect. There'll be something else coming,
Mhm.
right? I'm just, like you said, stronger and know how to mentally and spiritually and emotionally manage it a little bit better, right?
It does take experience.
Yeah.
And it's wisdom. Unfortunately, that
Yeah.
wisdom comes with sagging eyelids.
No, yeah. Well, we
Wrinkles,
can fix
right?
that. Anything can
Right.
be fixed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's another story I'm going to totally shift now to your personal life that I did not know until early on in our friendship when I saw you share this story from stage so eloquent. I can't even say the word so beautifully. Uh, you know, Here I am on stage, sobbing my eyes out. You're telling this story, so heart wrenching story about your marriage with just one little trickle. Just like, okay, I got to learn that. But there was a point in your marriage. Now, Angel Tuccy is one of the most happily married women you will ever meet on this planet, you all. Beautiful relationship she and her husband Jay have. But there was a time that you told me early on when your kids were little that you guys were ready to throw in the towel. And you told me some things that you did that kind of turned that around. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Jay and I are celebrating 30 years of being married, and we are happily married now. We have 29-year-old twin daughters and a 25-year-old son. But when they were in elementary school, and it was kind of in that year 11 for us, we had been drifting into a space where we were raising kids, and we were totally focused on raising our kids and raising our family and doing our thing, that we had gotten to a point where we were no longer intimate, we were no longer close, no longer really had anything in common. We didn't argue, we didn't fight, we just didn't talk. We talked to the kids and we talked with the kids, but when they weren't around, we were just frankly bored with each other, and had gotten to a space where I think I was just, talking with other women about their relationships and all of this. And I realized I wanted more. I wanted more. I was not happy in the relationship that we had created. And Jay couldn't give me more. And so because of that, it was time for us to probably get a divorce. But before making that decision, we sought out a counselor. We went to marriage counseling. And, it kind of unpeeled a few things, but it just really wasn't making progress, right? We now, instead of not talking, we went from not talking to now arguing, like full blown heated arguments about anything and everything. So it just went from nothing to really worse very quickly. And so now, instead of not talking, now we're only arguing and trying to figure out where do we go from there. And it had gone on for quite a long time, several months. In fact, probably about a year is the time frame of when we decided to start getting help for it, to when things turned around. And the story that Carey is recalling is I was like a volcano, right? I was erupting. We were having just yet another argument over something. He wanted to go back to the way things were, was the words he said to me. I just want to go back to the way they were. And I just erupted like a volcano, because the way things were was not intimate, was not romantic. We were not close. We didn't enjoy each other's company. And that's what he was saying to me. That's what I heard him saying to me, is that's where he wanted to go back to. And I stood on our bed, and I was literally standing on the bed, just jumping and so angry and so upset with him. And he grabs me, right? Because now I'm a little bit more eye level to him, right? Because I'm up on the bed. And he grabs me, wraps his arms around me, and pulls me in and pulls me close. And he lays this kiss, like plants this deep, passionate kiss on me, that it was like sucking the devil right out of me. Like I had been like, just like the devil was in me. Like I had been like possessed, right? I was so angry and just fuming. And he grabs me and he pulls me in and he kisses me. And as he kisses me, it's like it just pulls the anger, right? The enemy right out of me. And it was the most passionate kiss that he and I had had in probably 5 years. And I melted. I melted in his arms, and I felt love and passion for him that I had not felt. And it opened up a whole new channel for us to talk and to communicate and to fall in love again. And yeah, my gosh, I haven't told that story in a very long time. It was
Wow.
a turning point for sure.
Yeah. I think it's so amazing how you give the visual of it's sucking the anger, sucking the devil out of you, right? Because I think there was divine intervention at that moment for you all, right? And I think it's because you wanted to really, both of you wanted to turn it around, I think so badly, just thought you were doing it in different ways. So there's something else you told me that you started doing afterwards that I found really interesting. And I don't know if you remember this, but you told me that you made a choice every day to thank him for any little thing that he did. I think you said you were journaling, right?
Oh, yeah. I started making a list of reasons why I loved him, because I needed that reminder. So I'm not a big Nicholas Sparks fan, right? As far as he's like one big gesture and the whole thing turns over immediately. I hate
Right.
that. So like that is not real life to me. I'm like, yes, this was this big gesture, but now we had to figure out how to recover. And
Right.
so every single day, I would just look for things that Jay was doing that showed he loved me, right? And showed that I loved him. And so I wanted to make a list, to get to like 100 reasons why I love Jay, right? He put gas in my car today. He, helped cook dinner. He brought me flowers. He rubbed my feet, while we're watching TV. He let me watch my favorite show on TV, like just little things, right? But every day looking for something to add to that list. And some days it was one thing and some days it was 5 things. And I made this list, and I continued to make this list for months until I didn't need the list anymore, or the reminder to look for his love for me anymore. But it was a physical thing that I needed to see it. I needed to be reminded of it. And I needed to be intentional about being in love with my husband again.
Right. The power of gratitude is what you're talking about, Angel. I mean, it's just, it can help you overcome just about anything in life, don't you think? I mean, it's so interesting. I've had several podcast interviews today, and the common theme has been that in the moment of every adversity these people have dealt with, they turned to looking for the good. How can I use this for good? And being grateful, knowing that somewhere somebody has it worse off. And this is a choice. It's a physical choice.
It is a choice. It absolutely. Everything that happens, you can look at it as half empty or half full or overflowing. Because there's always something. There's always something to find. And it might just be that I still have breath in my lungs, right? But start there. My eyes are open. I have breath in my lungs. I can still breathe. I could text somebody that I love them, that I appreciate them. I have a friend somewhere, right? Or I could be a friend. If I don't have a friend, I could be a friend. Somebody once told me, if things aren't going good, do good. And while the journaling and being grateful for what you have is, I think, is far more powerful. I don't think I didn't recognize how powerful of an exercise that really is. But then to do good, go out and be a friend to somebody, right? Pay for the coffee behind you. Pay it, it's that pay it forward movement. Do something good reminds you, like, it's not all lost. All is not lost. And I can breathe for another minute, another 5 minutes. I can get through this day. And, in the case of Jay and I, our marriage is completely different. When I walked away from broadcasting, I started traveling as a speaker, and Jay started traveling with me. Had we not developed that closeness during that time, this would not have been something we would have wanted to do. But then traveling together, walking away from broadcasting and being able to travel together made us even closer, brought us even closer. But had we not gone through what we had gone through, I think throwing us together and traveling together could have just, been the icing on the cake. And then the kids were already grown and we wouldn't have had any good reason to stay together. When we were little, we wanted to stay together for them. Well, now we were empty nesters and we wouldn't have had that drama. So it all, like you see and you look back and God's amazing. It's like this tapestry or this mosaic. I always, say that mosaics are like pieces of pottery or pieces of broken glass. And then, all together to make this beautiful picture. That's what our lives are. Yeah. These little broken pieces of glass that seemingly seem like nothing, or they seem shattered and they seem broken. And how can you make something beautiful out of this? But it's all the broken pieces all pieced together into, make this beautiful mosaic and this beautiful picture. And that's what our lives are.
It's such a beautiful visual, my friend. And it is so true. And I know that, and you know that, because we've been on the other side of some pretty tough stuff, right? But I just really am hoping that the people who are listening, if they're working through something that right now just seems so dark and so like, I don't see how there is a way out, that you understand that it some days, like you're saying, Angel, it's just being grateful for the breath. It's just putting one foot in front of the other, right? And so I just would love for you to just, in the few minutes we have left, maybe just share one or two things that would be pieces of advice that you would share with somebody that is in that moment right now, just going, I just need one more step. What would you advise them?
Oh, okay. So you are not alone, right? You are not alone. We think we are, we feel we are, but there is somebody that would just beg for you to reach out to them. And that person, as soon as that person comes to mind, you can text them, you can leave them a voice message, you can reach out, find them, but somebody's coming to your mind, and reach out, because you are not alone. And somebody is begging for you to share your story with them so that you don't feel that way. I promise you. Number 2 is to make that list of what do you have to be grateful for? What is going right? What makes you happy? What is going to give you breath to continue to go on, right? To take the next step. And so journaling, making a list of things you're grateful for, people you're grateful for, this moment, make that list. And then the third thing is do something, right? Do something, go for a walk, to go out, get out of the environment that you're in, right? Disrupt it a little bit. Go and do something. Go and volunteer somewhere. Go serve somebody. Go help somebody. But just go and do something and get yourself, just break out of the mold and break out of that environment. When Jay grabbed me to kiss me, it was like everything shattered. Like the moment, like the whole energy shifted in the room. When I was, when I went and they told me I was off the air, but I went and I served somebody else, and I still gave them the experience that they needed, right? I went and I served somebody else. So do something for somebody else. If you can't do it for yourself, do it for somebody else.
So magical. So magical. So my friend, you help people now get their stories out. So I want you to just take a minute or two and just kind of describe that so that people know how to find you and how you help them through that.
Oh, I would love to. I teach authors, speakers, entrepreneurs how to get media exposure, right? How to get more exposure for their business, their book, or their brand every single month. Right? You can do that using our VIP press release subscription service. We also have a Media Mastery Bootcamp that we put on a few times a year. And we have an incredible Facebook network if you are looking for more exposure, to be interviewed and to be featured. And can I give a call to action? Can I give a website link, Carey?
Sure. Yes.
So, we have a starter kit that helps you to put together your press release ideas, start to connect with journalists. And it's at our website, makeyourbigimpact.com. That's makeyourbigimpact.com. You'll have access to my books, access to all of our resources, our Facebook groups, all good things. And so if you want to get discovered using media and PR, go to makeyourbigimpact.com.
Yeah. Angel has written how many books now, Angel?
I have written 15 books, and
15, right.
Yeah, I've been in the foreword of 8 others and some chapters in some other books, but I've personally written 15.
I just want to leave you all with that, because if you have a story in you and you've been saying, I need to write a book, and you're not doing it, which is most people on the planet, this girl helps you get that out. So I just want to make sure that you know that. So Angel, thank you for being here with me today, my friend.
Oh my gosh, Carey,
I adore you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this podcast today. Guys, I'm host of Moving Through and Beyond, Carey Conley, and I'm just here to remind you to keep looking up. If you found this episode inspiring or helpful, please share it with a friend or a family member. In order to be successful on this mission, I can't do it alone. Connect with me at www.careyconley.com, and don't forget to sign up for my weekly Do It On Purpose newsletter. Let's build this life-giving vision movement together to end this epidemic, save lives, and create purpose.